Have you ever wondered how Amish families transform garbage into garden gold worth hundreds of dollars without buying a single bag of fertilizer? Most people throw away kitchen scraps that can feed their gardens for free, but simple composting methods perfected over generations make it possible. And today, I'm showing you 10 of them. Here are 10 Amish kitchen scrap composting secrets ranked from impressive to absolutely incredible. Scrap separation system. Not all kitchen waste composts at the same rate or provides the same nutrients. Amish composters separate scraps by decomposition speed and nutrient content before adding them to piles. Fast composting materials include vegetable peelings, fruit scraps, and coffee grounds. Slow composters include eggshells, nutshells, and corn cobs. High nitrogen scraps are coffee grounds and fresh vegetable waste. High carbon materials are paper towels and cardboard. This Pennsylvania method from the 1800s allows families to create targeted compost for different garden needs, matching fertilizer type to crop requirements. Eggshell calcium banking. Amish families save and dry every eggshell separately, then crush them into powder for pure calcium supplement. Ohio communities documented this practice in the 1890s when they recognized eggshells are 95% calcium carbonate. Research validates this completely. Crushed eggshells prevent blossom end rot in tomatoes, peppers, and squash that need heavy calcium. The method is brilliantly simple. Rinse shells, dry them completely, crush with rolling pin or mortar. 1 year of family eggshells provides enough calcium for a large garden. Modern gardeners buy lime for $15 to $20, while Amish use free eggshells from breakfast. Coffee ground collection. What if I told you your morning coffee produces premium nitrogen fertilizer worth $30 to $40 monthly? The secret is collecting used coffee grounds, which contain 2% nitrogen by weight. Indiana Amish began this practice in the 1920s, when coffee became a household staple. They collect daily coffee filters with grounds for compost or direct soil application. Coffee grounds acidify soil slightly, making them perfect for blueberries and tomatoes. They improve soil structure and water retention while attracting earthworms. University studies from 2019 confirmed coffee grounds increase earthworm populations by 300% in treated soil. One family produces 15 to 20 pounds of grounds monthly. Some Amish families collect from local coffee shops who are happy to give away waste materials for free instead of paying disposal fees. Scrap juice extraction. Amish gardeners soak scraps in water for 24 to 48 hours before composting, creating nutrient-rich compost tea for immediate use. This Lancaster County practice from the 1860s captures nutrients that would otherwise be lost. Liquid fertilizer feeds plants faster than solid compost because roots absorb it immediately. Pour it directly on garden soil or use as foliar spray on leaves. 1 week of kitchen scraps makes 2-3 gallons of liquid fertilizer. Research from Cornell shows vegetable extract increases seedling vigor by 40% compared to water-only controls. The remaining solid scraps still go to the compost pile, so nothing is wasted. Modern liquid fertilizers cost $12 to $20 per gallon, but you're making it free from materials you'd throw away anyway. Fermented scrap Bokashi method. This Japanese origin technique was adopted by some Amish communities in the 1990s when they recognized it could compost meat, dairy, and oils that traditional composting can't handle safely. Bokashi fermentation uses an airtight bucket with beneficial microbes. Layer kitchen scraps with Bokashi bran made from wheat bran, molasses, and effective microorganisms. Seal the bucket and let it ferment for 2 weeks. Wisconsin communities have been testing this method since the 2000s with excellent results. The process produces concentrated pre-compost and nutrient-rich liquid that drains from the bucket bottom. Bury the fermented material in garden beds where it breaks down in 2 to 4 weeks instead of the 3 to 6 months traditional composting requires. Research from agricultural universities shows Bokashi material has higher nutrient density than standard compost. One 5-gallon bucket processes 2 weeks of family scraps. The liquid drain-off is concentrated fertilizer worth $50 plus when diluted, 1% 100 for garden use. This method allows year-round indoor composting without any smell. Layered scrap composting kitchen scraps are nitrogen-rich green materials that must be layered with carbon-rich brown materials for proper composting. The ideal ratio is 3 parts brown to 1 part green. Ohio Amish documented this method in the 1880s when they learned that scraps alone create slimy, smelly, anaerobic messes. Proper layering creates fast, odorless, aerobic compost. The daily routine is simple. Add kitchen scraps to the pile, then cover immediately with brown materials like dried leaves, shredded paper, or cardboard. This keeps fruit flies away, controls odor, and speeds decomposition. One family generates 3 to 5 pounds of kitchen scraps daily. Over 1 year, that's 800 pounds of compost material, producing 300 to 500 pounds of finished compost worth $150 to $250 if purchased bagged. But the nutrient value is much higher than commercial compost. Research shows home compost has 3 times the nutrient density of store-bought products because of careful layering and diverse inputs. The careful attention to brown-green ratio creates superior fertilizer. Modern composters throw scraps in randomly without layering and wonder why their piles fail or smell terrible. Vermicomposting system: what if worms could turn your scraps into fertilizer 5 times faster than regular composting? Vermicomposting uses red wiggler worms in indoor bins that consume kitchen scraps and produce worm castings, nature's perfect fertilizer. Pennsylvania Amish adopted this system in homes during the 1970s to 1980s. A small bin placed under the kitchen sink processes scraps continuously with no outdoor composting needed in winter. Worms consume scraps within days instead of months. 1 pound of worms processes 1 pound of scraps daily. A family of 6 needs a 2-3 pound worm population. The bin gets harvested every 3 to 4 months, yielding 20 to 30 pounds of pure worm castings per harvest. Research from Cornell shows worm castings are worth $2 to $4 per pound retail. That's $40 to $120 per harvest, or $160 to $480 annually. Plus there's worm tea, liquid fertilizer that drains from the bin, worth another $100 to $200 yearly. Total annual value from kitchen scraps, $260 to $680. Commercial worm castings are expensive because production is labor-intensive and slow. You're creating premium fertilizer free from waste materials while your worm population multiplies. The worms themselves become valuable. Extra worms can be sold, shared with other composters, or used as fishing bait worth $8 to $12 per pound. Scrap-fed chicken kitchen scraps don't have to become fertilizer directly. Feed them to chickens who convert scraps into eggs and nitrogen-rich manure that becomes exceptional fertilizer. Wisconsin communities perfected this nutrient cycle in the 1870s when they recognized chickens as biological processors, turning waste into multiple valuable outputs. Chickens eat virtually all vegetable scraps, fruit waste, bread, and dairy products. They can't eat onion, citrus, avocado, or raw potato peels, which are toxic to chickens, but everything else gets consumed eagerly. One chicken eats a quarter pound of scraps daily. A small flock of 6 chickens consumes all household scrap waste. They produce eggs for eating and 100+ pounds of manure annually. Chicken manure has the highest nitrogen content of any livestock manure, worth $50 to $80 per 100 pounds if purchased commercially. Research from the University of Maine tracked scrap-fed chickens versus grain-fed chickens. Eggs from scrap-fed hens had 30% higher omega-3 fatty acids, richer yolk color, and better flavor. The nutrient cycle is elegant. Scraps feed chickens, chickens produce eggs and manure, manure fertilizes gardens, gardens produce vegetables, vegetable scraps feed chickens, nothing leaves the system, and fertility builds continuously over time. After 1 year of composting chicken manure with bedding, you create 200 to 300 pounds of finished compost worth $100 to $150, plus egg value of $200 to $300 annually. Total system value from kitchen scraps, $300 to $450. Modern kitchens send scraps to landfills, but Amish send scraps through chickens, capturing multiple values from the same materials. Seasonal scrap strategy. Kitchen scrap composition changes dramatically with seasons, and smart composters adjust methods to match these variations. Spring brings lots of citrus peels and winter vegetable scraps. Summer produces abundance of fresh vegetable trimmings and fruit waste. Fall generates apple cores, squash scraps, and root vegetable peelings. Winter yields mostly coffee grounds, eggshells, and stored vegetable waste. Pennsylvania communities documented these seasonal patterns in the 1840s when they recognized that processing methods must adapt to available materials. Summer scraps compost fastest due to heat and moisture, so they go directly to outdoor hot compost piles. Winter scraps freeze in outdoor piles and decompose slowly, so they go to indoor vermicompost bins or Bokashi buckets instead. This seasonal approach prevents waste and maintains year-round fertilizer production. Summer outdoor piles produce 150 to 200 pounds of finished compost. Winter indoor systems produce 100 to 150 pounds. Total annual production, 250 to 350 pounds from scraps alone. Research from the University of Vermont tracked seasonal composting systems over 3 years. Year-round systems produced 40% more finished fertilizer than summer-only composting, because no scraps were wasted during frozen months. The nutrient profile also varies seasonally. Summer compost is higher in potassium from fruit scraps. Winter compost is higher in nitrogen from coffee grounds and vegetable protein. Savvy gardeners apply summer compost to fruiting plants, like tomatoes and peppers that need potassium. They apply winter compost to leafy greens needing nitrogen. Modern composting ignores seasonal variations, but Amish match compost production and application to seasonal nutrient availability, creating targeted fertilization that feeds plants exactly what they need when they need it. Now, here's what makes seasonal adaptation even more effective than basic year-round composting. The volume of scraps changes seasonally, along with composition. Summer garden season produces 2 to 3 times more kitchen waste than winter because families are processing fresh vegetables, preserving harvests, and cooking from abundance. This summer surge would overwhelm a single composting system, but Amish families run multiple systems simultaneously during peak season. The main outdoor hot pile handles bulk vegetable processing waste. A secondary pile accepts daily kitchen scraps. Chicken feeders take damaged produce and trimmings. Nothing gets wasted even during the busiest weeks. Winter's reduced scrap volume fits perfectly into compact indoor systems. One vermicompost bin or 2 Bokashi buckets handle everything a family generates from November through March. These systems operate in basements or heated porches, where temperatures stay above freezing, ensuring continuous decomposition while outdoor ground is frozen solid. The seasonal transition timing matters enormously. Amish composters don't wait for first hard freeze to move indoors. They transition systems in October while outdoor piles are still active, allowing indoor systems to establish and stabilize before winter truly arrives. Similarly, they don't rush outdoor piles in early spring. Indoor systems continue until soil thaws completely and outdoor composting becomes reliable again, typically late April or early May in northern regions. Some innovative families maintain what they call transition piles, outdoor compost protected with thick straw insulation that stays active longer into fall and starts earlier in spring than unprotected piles. These extend the outdoor season by 4 to 6 weeks on each end, reducing the indoor processing burden during shoulder seasons when scrap volumes are moderate but weather is unpredictable. Complete kitchen waste. The average family of 4 to 6 people generates 8 to 12 pounds of kitchen waste weekly. That's 400 to 600 pounds annually. Properly composted, this yields 150 to 250 pounds of finished fertilizer. Market value of equivalent bagged organic compost, $75 to $125. But homemade compost has 2-3 times the nutrient density of commercial products, so the real replacement value is $150 to $250. Add worm castings from vermicomposting, $160 to $480. Add chicken manure if feeding scraps to hens, $100 to $150. Add liquid fertilizers from scrap soaking and Bokashi, $100 to $200. Total potential value from 1 year of kitchen scraps, $510 to $1,080. Indiana Amish families documented this accounting in 1830s farm journals when they recognized that waste was simply misplaced resources, needing better management. Modern waste removal costs families $20 to $40 monthly, or $240 to $480 yearly, paying to dispose of valuable materials. The math reverses completely with composting. Instead of paying $400 to remove waste, you're creating $800 worth of fertilizer. Net economic swing, $1,200 annually. Research from the EPA shows 30% of household waste is compostable organic material. Landfilling this waste creates methane, a potent greenhouse gas that accelerates climate change. Composting sequesters carbon in soil while building fertility. The environmental benefit exceeds the economic benefit, but both are substantial and completely accessible to anyone. No special equipment is needed beyond bins, buckets, or worm boxes. Just systematic collection and proper processing of materials you already generate daily in your kitchen. But here's what transforms basic accounting into genuine wealth building: the compounding effect of improved soil over multiple years. First-year compost application improves soil structure and adds nutrients for that season's crops. But the benefits don't end at harvest. Organic matter from compost persists in soil, continuing to improve water retention, support beneficial microbes, and release nutrients slowly over 2 to 3 years. Year 2, you add another 250 pounds of compost on top of last year's residual benefits. Year 3 adds more still. By year 5, your soil has been transformed from basic dirt into living, fertile growing medium that produces dramatically better yields with less water, fewer pest problems, and minimal additional fertilizer needs. The economic multiplier becomes clear when you track vegetable production increases. Gardens receiving annual compost applications show 25% to 40% higher yields according to research from multiple agricultural universities. That's not just 25% more tomatoes, it's 25% more of everything you grow, year after year, compounding the return on your composting investment. A family growing $500 worth of vegetables annually sees that increase to $625 to $700 with consistent compost application. Over 10 years, the yield increase alone is worth $1,250 to $2,000 beyond the direct fertilizer replacement value. The total economic impact of kitchen scrap composting over a decade exceeds $10,000 when accounting for fertilizer replacement, waste disposal savings, and increased garden productivity. Amish families don't track these numbers with spreadsheets, but they understand the principle deeply through generations of observation. Soil that receives consistent organic matter produces better crops every single year. The garden becomes more productive while requiring less purchased input. Fertility builds instead of depleting. This is the fundamental economic logic that made composting central to Amish agriculture long before modern sustainability movements discovered the same truths. The investment required is time and attention, not money. 15 minutes daily collecting and processing scraps, 30 minutes weekly managing compost systems, perhaps 2 hours monthly harvesting finished compost and applying it to gardens. Total annual time investment, 30 to 40 hours generating $800 to $1,200 in value. That's $20 to $30 per hour return on labor, tax-free, using materials you already possess and would otherwise pay to discard. These 10 methods prove that kitchen scraps aren't garbage. They're raw materials worth hundreds of dollars in garden fertility when processed correctly through simple separation, collection, and composting techniques.